Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
What is the highest pressure head coaching job in the NHL? And the options that we came up with, or I came up with, Montreal, Toronto, New York Rangers, or other. Dave, and 68% are saying the Leafs. Everybody agrees with you and me. I voted for Toronto, too. 14% say Montreal, 11% say the New York Rangers, and 7% say other. Now, you're sitting there in Winnipeg, and I thought about Winnipeg. I really did. I thought maybe they would be the third option on the poll, but I'm like, well, we got to have an American city. The New York Rangers are the highest valued team in the NHL. You've probably seen that in the latest Forbes list. I don't think it would be easy in any Canadian city. What do you think it's like for the head coach of the Winnipeg Jets to live his life?
Well, you know what? The team has done a pretty good job with the continuity. Claude Noel, from when they started with Claude Noel, Paul Maurice. Then they had the little blip for a little while until they found the last head coach just stepped down, which I can't even remember now.
Rick Bowness?
It's early. Rick Bowness. And now to Scott Arniel. I think they've done a continuity job keeping things in the organization other than, obviously, Rick Bowness, everybody loved. And everybody just understand it was time for him to step away because, he was essentially retired when he took it. And Scott Arniel, for all intents and purposes, has been groomed for that position. But Toronto, every single season, every single September, and the puck drop in October is every member of the Leafs Nation think it's their year. I don't think that's that big of a deal in any other city. Perhaps maybe Edmonton. They did a nice job switching the knob lock at the beginning of last season, but I don't think it's that same kind of scrutiny and pressure and social media madness that Toronto Maple Leafs give their head coaches.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
What do you think it's going to take to return the Edmonton Elks to even some semblance of respectability, let alone prominence?
I'm all across the province, and I have these conversations every day, Rod. There's management, the name change, there's so much, right? But at the end of the day, just like I said about Chad Kelly, you win football games. You win, and people will be there.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hi, everybody. Yes, it is. Under the guidance of producer Tuna Turner today. How about that? What's love got to do with it? Tuna Turner's producing today. Yeah. And director Jordan, welcome to the Golden Ticket Sports Center. We're live on the Game Plus television network and radio, WQEE, and, of course, streaming. Please welcome in Moose from the GTA, where we covered a lot of ground this morning, Moose. We had somebody on our staff, I'm not going to say who, it was from the East, and he says, I don't miss the people and the rudeness. Is that a thing, Darren? Are they rude out there? I know there's people, but are they rude? Tell me. Spill.
You know what? I haven't found it except when they're in their cars. My goodness, the traffic and the ruthlessness of people on the road. There's no two-finger Saskatchewan wave, the windshield wipers or the little one finger, right? There's none of that.
Yeah.
It is every man for himself out there.
Well, for the next 2 hours, everybody, just put your feet up. Not if you're driving, but just settle in for a lot of fun. We've got David Naylor with us in hour one from TSN. And Matt Dubuc, my football buddy from Fort Lauderdale, three-time 5A state champion high school coach Matt Dubuc, CFL alum. So there's going to be a lot of football today. Can you hit the show horn, please? Tuna Turner. You know you're old when you're listening to the oldies radio station and they're playing songs from your high school grade 12 year. Or as Serena would say, your senior year. They're playing Tina Turner. What's Love Got to... No, The Best by Tina Turner. I'm like, that's an oldie now? Oh, my God. So, number one, the big story, Darren. Argentina got goals from Julian Alvarez and Lionel Messi as they defeated the underdog squad from Canada 2-0 in Copa America semifinal action on Tuesday night. More than 80,000 fans filled MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, to watch the match. Argentina will now face the winner of Uruguay-Colombia in the final. That game goes tonight. I'll be perfectly honest. Let's sit here for a second. We're a daytime sports talk show, and we're on the air in Canada, and Canada was playing last night in the Copa America semifinal. I was very disappointed. I watched with my sponsor, Bob. He's got a connection to soccer. His niece is still playing very high-level soccer. He barbecued burgers for me, and we had, the highlight of the night was my hanging out with Bob. These guys were flopping all over the place, and to be honest, I was listening this morning to NHL radio on satellite, Scott Hawklin, and they were talking about the soccer game, Darren, and he said, because he knows soccer apparently, he's like, well, the Argentinians were flopping all over the place, and they were getting the calls, so then the Canadian team started flopping. I'm like, you're losing me! You're losing me, soccer. And so I like the fact that the game was roughly about 2 hours long, so it wasn't all-night affair, but Canada lost. And you know what? I was on the whole deal. So, sorry. How about you?
It was disappointing for sure. I thought Canada put forth a decent effort.
I don't have his
but
audio.
It was Argentina.
Is that a me thing or a Darren thing? I can't hear him. What happened?
You guys let me know if you got me.
Is that a me thing or a him thing? I can't hear him.
Okay.
It might be a me thing.
How about now?
Try it again, Darren.
Do you guys have me? Interesting. I'm not sure if you guys got me or not. We may need to take a break. Can I sign this as we go to break? Do you need sign language?
I can't hear you. It might be me.
We've had an audio problem. Good thing we're 4 minutes in. Do we know whose issue it is?
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, we're back. Sorry about that, everybody. Profuse apologies, but I'll remind anybody and everybody, nobody died, okay? It's not that big a deal. The audio dropped out, and here we are back, and we're with you until 10:35 when Dave Naylor will drop in and join us. So the Moose is in Toronto, and we'll pick up where we left off. I got so many things that I want to get to, like a lot of things I want to get to, Darren. So I don't want to spend any more time on soccer than we have to. I will just say I was turned off by pretty much the whole thing last night. Canada losing 2-0 to Argentina. Wayne and Steinbach, Manitoba, writes in. He says, Rod and Moose, the soccer result was expected. I only checked once in a while to see the score. I don't get watching for hours. Well, Bob barbecued hamburgers, and we had a great time visiting. The game was on, but I didn't really understand what was going on. He was explaining it to me, and I'm not sure that I will never be a soccer diehard. I won't be. So there, again. I didn't hear anything of what you said, so take it away.
Yeah. You know, I will say to Wayne, you're not watching for hours. A soccer match is about half as long as a football game, right? It's about an hour and a half total. Maybe they had 10 minutes of a halftime intermission. It's about half as long as a football game. So it's not that crazy. I watched, you know what? The result was expected. It was tough to give up the early goal 20 minutes in. And then that kind of took the wind out of the sails. You thought maybe they could keep it close and tied longer. But it was fun. And at the end of the day, this was a great result for Canada. This was a huge step forward for Canadian soccer. So congratulations. And that's pretty much it. It was something to be proud of for Canada to get this far.
So again, we watched it. We'll promote it, but we're not going to sit and talk about it forever because I guess Brian Burke has said, he said it on NHL radio, that soccer's just not for him. And I'm like, you know what? I've really, really tried. It's not for me. And I can't imagine spending thousands of dollars like our good friend AJ Jakovic did to fly in from Ottawa, the voice of the Red Blacks, wear your red and white, buy a flag, go to the game, and then see guys flopping all over the place and lose in a game that you didn't think you were going to win anyway. Why would you do that? And yet, that's fine. But I ain't ever going to do it. And then the other thing is the WWE. Like, I see these full arenas and Monday Night Raw, and my good friends like Jersey Jim and Scruffy and people tweeting about it and Facebooking about it. I'm like, they're running around in nylons, and it's fake. What the hell's wrong with you? But you know what? That's their deal. It's just not mine. We will never. I follow wrestling less than soccer, and I'm not even into soccer. So anyways, we're moving on to the stuff that I do want to talk about. Now, make your birthday unforgettable at Golden Ticket Sports Center in Moose Jaw. Book your birthday party with us here for a fun-filled celebration packed with sports, games, and endless excitement. Visit GoldenTicketSportsCenter.com to reserve your spot today. So to baseball, and I find this really interesting across Canada. Here's us as Canadians. We got our eye on the Blue Jays, and even though they suck, doesn't mean we're not paying attention to whether they win or lose. And if they're good, we'll watch. But if they're not good, we won't watch. We'll just kind of keep an eye on it. So the San Francisco Giants, trailing 3-2 and down to their final out, rallied to beat the visiting Blue Jays last night 4-3. Starting pitcher Yusei Kikuchi recorded a career-high 13 strikeouts over 7 1/3 innings, but the bullpen couldn't seal the deal. A bright spot was the Jays' Ernie Clement, who hit a 3-run dinger despite having their 2-game win streak snapped. Now, everybody was into that. I don't know if that was on your social media thing. You stay up later than me. But I got back into Moose Jaw in time to watch the end of the game, and people were going wild on social media and those that were watching it. And to be honest, Dan Schulman, I thought, had a really good call. But you see what I'm saying? Canada, we're watching. all the time. And the NFL games, even in Canada, we're watching all the time. But with the Blue Jays, we're not always watching unless you make it interesting or you're winning. Deal or no deal. Do you agree? Because that's what I see.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny. Like, I was watching the Jays game the other day, and I watch most of the games, or a lot of the games, more than most probably, against Seattle, and they were down 4-1. And it's one of those things where I was going to turn it off or just leave it on in the background. And as I was sitting there, either about to flip the channel or about to go and see what's going on, boom, home run, George Springer. It's tied at 4. Now I'm paying attention, right? And that's kind of how we are with the Jays. If they put a few wins together, we're going to pay attention a little more. And hopefully they do, but it's just they haven't been able to string any more than 2 or 3 wins together.
It's the fun thing that we do here every day on the Rod Pedersen Show. We loop in viewer comments as we roll. Wayne in Victoria, BC. By the way, it was Wilf in Steinbach, Manitoba, but had his thought on why do people watch for hours. Wayne in BC says, I haven't watched wrestling since Stampede Wrestling ended. I'm not a wrestling or soccer fan. Sorry. Yeah, so we're not going to talk about either. Other than this, I was standing in the Co-op gas bar last night, and they have the Cuban lunch there. And I'm sorry, I feel the Co-op's overpricing everything. They don't sponsor this show, so I can say it. They're overpricing everything. It was $2.50 for a Cuban lunch. When I was a kid, Darren, you could get it for 50 cents. But I always think of the Cuban assassin, which would mean nothing to you. But the Cuban assassin was a wrestler in Stampede Wrestling with a big bushy black beard, and he scared the hell out of me as a child. There was so much blood in Stampede Wrestling. Every time I see a Cuban lunch, you know, the milk chocolate with the nuts in it wrapped in the red tissue paper. Oh, such a good chocolate bar. I always think of the Cuban assassin. But I've said it many times, these things from your childhood, they stick with you the rest of your life. Anyways, I got to get out of the comments for a second or I'll never get out. WCBL, just to give you the scores last night, the Weyburn Beavers beat Regina 5-1. Fort McMurray knocked off Saskatoon Berries 11-4 up in Fort Mac. Sylvan Lake over Lethbridge 13-4. And did you see the goals of the number 1 team in the power rankings right now? Medicine had over Swift Current 8-5, and Brooks bombed Okotoks 8-1. So they also enjoy my stories, I'm told here, Darren. So you know this. I told you it before the show. It dawned on me over the last 24 hours how I used to get into trouble with the teams. And I'll give you the example. And I think you understand this. I'm around Moose Jaw as the voice of the Millers. They've given me all the gear to wear. And every morning I see them here at the Golden Ticket. They come in and work out, which, by the way, is a pretty good life. Come in and work out at 10 a.m., get to sleep in every day, work out a little bit, get a pump on, then go home and have a nap, have lunch, hang out for a bit, and then go to the ballpark for BP and play a game and get up and do it all over the next day. They pay the guys millions, Darren, in the majors to do this. Did you know that? And the thing is, if you have had that charmed life your whole life, you wouldn't know the otherwise. There are still some guys that think they got it real tough, which is another story altogether. But anyways, some guys were kind of kibitzing around here and really excited yesterday because there's 5 All-Stars were named for the Millers. So I was texting the league, and I said, how come I haven't, where is it, the thing? And they said, we're not announcing it until Thursday. Oh, well, the players all know, and they told me who they are, who the All-Stars are, so I'll just shut up. You know, and that's why I don't want to be around the players and the team anymore, because that's what got me in trouble back in the day with the Rough Riders and the Pats. And that's why with the Panthers in Florida, they always, I've told you this how many times, come on in, come into it. And I'm good over here. I don't want to know. I don't want to know you. I just want to talk about the games and cover them, and I don't want to know too much. And I'm not sure that's going to be possible with the Millers, Darren, because we're getting along real well. But I don't think the fans understand that. As the play-by-play guy, and the more that you're around, the more you know, and it puts you in a real tough position. And with the Saskatchewan Roughriders being the Crimson Tide of Alabama, it's the number 1 thing. So when people are up in your face all day, every day, 365, going, what's new with the team? What's the scoops? Why don't you know about this? You can play dumb. And then they say, well, why don't you know? You should know. You're the voice of the team. Why don't you know? Not only did I have a nervous breakdown, I'm pretty sure I had a series of mental breakdowns dealing with that. So it's just, I got a second chance here. I just don't want to know. That's my long story on that. Have you ever lived that with the teams you've been around?
Not to that extent, because as you know, like I've not gotten close with too many teams, I've been pretty lucky in that regard. Not, I've been lucky to be around teams, but I've been lucky to work for the networks more often, where you cover multiple teams and you roll in for games from the network perspective, covering the entire league, which I think, I like that. That's the sweet spot because you don't get in too deep and know all the dirt, but you have a lot of, knowledge about a lot of different teams and you get to see everybody, which I think is awesome. But there is something special about riding the bus, about being around the team, about the way you're building relationships there with the Millers and, Bobby Biceps and all the rest. There is something special about that. And, it's definitely a lot of fun.
It's very special, but I don't want to know any more than I have to. And it's funny you mentioned the network guys, whether it's the NHL, CFL, or NFL. When I'm down rolling around in Miami wearing, I got those championship Grey Cup rings. And that's something they'll never have because they've told me that. So there's a benefit to it. But the thing is, I've done that. I don't want to go back to doing it anymore. I just don't. And that's why. So Jim Wagner in Balgoni, Sask writes in and he says, soccer, this is on the text line 902-518-3033. He says, soccer is just ridiculous the way they drop like they've been shot when they're bumped. Good grief. At least wrestling's entertaining. Soccer? Nope. I'm out. Great day, RP crew. That's the whole thing. I keep giving it a try because I'm a people pleaser by nature, and I keep getting disappointed, because I just got so many soccer friends. AJ's a good one. Our guy Jimmy Neugebauer is another one. You got to try soccer. You got to love soccer. I can't. Guys are wearing barrettes to hold their hair back. You're not seeing that at the Calgary Stampede. You're just not. To be honest, the guy with the Argentina flag shaved in the side of his head and painted, I didn't actually have a problem with that. I thought it was pretty cool. I'm like, you're not 15, but like when I did it. Anyways. I got to stay out of the comments because this isn't really the comment section. I'll get to these later. Because there are people that are writing in with some CFL questions. And I have written here, Darren, point 3. CFL notes. Week 6 look ahead, initial thoughts. Ooh, to the real fun stuff. Guess what I did this morning? Yeah, I read the game notes. Dude, we could spend at least a couple hours on this. And by the way, I'm going on the radio in Edmonton today, 2:40 p.m. Mountain with Low Tide. Sports Radio 1440 Edmonton. So tune in, everybody. Thank you, Edmonton, for being such solid supporters of this show. Join me with Low Tide this afternoon. Darren, here's a couple things I wrote down from the game notes. You being a football guy that you are, 75% of the games this year have been decided in the last 3 minutes. What did I say Monday morning? I was watching the last 3 minutes of the Rider game going into the last 3 minutes going, what is going to happen here? That's what's awesome about the Canadian Football League and will always be awesome about the CFL. Number one. Number 2, they're on pace for the fewest sacks in league history. I don't have the actual numbers what it is, but just take my word for it. There have been fewer sacks through the opening 5 weeks than there's ever been in CFL history. Point 3, the average margin of victory is 8 points. So the games are basically being decided by a touchdown either way. That's pretty damn awesome. That means no blowouts. And then another one, there's only been 2 kick return touchdowns all year. That means they're on pace for 6 all year in the league. 6. Think about that. And just so you know, last year there were 17 kick return touchdowns the whole season. 17. And this year they're on the pace for 6. So what do you think when I read that to you?
Tells me this league is really exciting. We're losing some of the things like those returns and the return specialists. Yeah. Javon Leake is one guy who's been doing it at a high level and continues to play really well. But I miss that. I miss the return. Where are the sacks coming from? Do we have a deficiency in scheme and defensive players? Is it changing the scheme? Not as much pressure? Or, is it the teams getting a lot better at, executing this quick strike offense, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands faster? That's interesting. But as we'll move forward and talk about the week, the league is in such a good spot on the field competitively. And I feel like a broken record, but as we go into the week, I'm looking at all the games. I'm like, this is really juicy. Like every game has great storylines this week. It is awesome.
Yeah, well, that's the poll question today. And it's a runaway. What's Canada's game of the week in the CFL? Toronto at Montreal, Thursday. Friday, Calgary at Winnipeg. Saturday, Sask at BC. And Sunday, Ottawa at Edmonton. And running away with it is the Riders-Lions game. And come on, let's take your blue goggles off if you're a Bomber fan. Take your red goggles off if you're a Stamps fan. It's the 4-0 Riders at the 4-1 BC Lions. And keep in mind, it's only Wednesday, so we're not going to take a whole lot of time out to talk about that game here today. But that's the runaway Riders-Lions. And that will be a fun atmosphere in BC Place on Saturday. I haven't checked the kickoff time. I don't even know what I'm doing Saturday because I got a lot to do between now and then. So I haven't really thought about it too much. But I think it's going to be great. Camper in Winnipeg writes in and says, Moose, are you calling Canada West this fall? That's a yes, right? From Camper in Winnipeg. You'll be broadcasting yes. Canada West football? Yep. John in Winnipeg, John Ohm says, you're a people person, Rod, so that's got to be tough to separate from the players to that extent. Nah, it's not really that difficult at all. That's being around the players and putting up a barrier, which, by the way, is me putting up the boundary, not them. It's all good. That's not the problem. The problem is just it's that Rider fan thing when they're up in your face and they want the goods and they don't let you walk away. When you say I don't want to talk about it or I can't say, they don't let you walk away. That's the problem. Whereas with the Millers, people aren't dying to find out who the All-Stars are. So it's pretty easy for me to keep a lid on that. Nobody's asking me who the All-Stars are. I mean, I care. But it was, again, I think about Joe Bowen with the Leafs a lot. I can't imagine that Joe could go anywhere in Toronto without being known. He's been the voice of the Leafs since the 80s. I don't know how he would deal with that. Like, I look at Troy Aikman in Dallas. If you've read any of the books on the Cowboys coverage of the 90s, he couldn't leave his house. He faxed his grocery list to the damn grocery store, and they would deliver it to him. That's Darian Durant here with the Rough Riders. He never left his apartment. And for me, I didn't want to leave my apartment, but I had to work. I had kids in the community. I was doing stuff, but it was tough. And why I didn't miss it is you're not paying me millions like Aikman got, or quite frankly, Darian. This ain't worth it. But can you imagine Joe Bowen? Have you been around Joe Bowen, by the way? Have you seen him or bumped into him?
No, I actually haven't. I've been around some of his family, but I haven't seen Joe or met Joe yet. But I would imagine the same thing. Like, I can't imagine he's, gets to have too many peaceful strolls in the community. Because everybody would be, Joe, what do you, they want the info. And that's comes with the territory for sure.
Well, I can only compare it to the Leafs. I would think the Leafs are like the Rider fans here, which incidentally, I went for lunch yesterday with a buddy of mine, Dean, from Vegas. I stayed with him at Super Bowl. And his son, Ben, and it was really interesting. This was just yesterday, and Ben was like, really interesting topic he had on the show yesterday, but where's the hottest hot seat for coaching in the NHL? He goes, and I agree with you, it's the Leafs. And he goes, Saskatchewan Roughriders fans are a lot like Leaf fans. They think they know it all, but they don't. And we had this long chat over lunch about how Montreal Canadiens fans are a little more, like, they're nuts. Nobody's going to say they're not nuts. But I think they know the game more than anybody else, right? But in Saskatchewan, these farmers largely have never played. So who the hell are you to tell the head coach who should be starting a quarterback? Yet it doesn't stop them with an opinion all day, every day, year round. It's a lot. Jen at the Four Seasons says, good morning, y'all. Where you been, Jen? She says, it's only 10:30 and it's 26 degrees already. Man, that Argentina team is really good. Kudos to Canada, though. Whoop. Yeah, we've put the soccer to bed. You might want to rewind. I'm not going back on that now. Jeremy in Winnipeg says, CFL is great, lots of talent, but yeah, I can't tell me any quarterback in the CFL does amazing things like Patrick Mahomes. Listen, and by the way, Jeremy is a CFL fan. He says, Canadian CFL rocks. Nothing compares. He says, the American NFL rocks. No league compares. No. You got to stop. And dude, it's July 10th. Why? NFL hasn't even started yet, and we're going to sit here and do this. And I know that there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to change anybody's mind, Aaron, but don't compare. Enjoy the CFL for what it is, and enjoy the NFL for what it is. I don't want to hear talk like this, that Zach Caleros is no Patrick Mahomes. We all know that, okay? But you at least know who the players are in the CFL, which is pretty awesome. It really is. And this last 3-minute thing, as I said earlier, 75% of the games are being decided in the last 3 minutes. That's what the CFL is. And there's some pretty good receivers. You're not seeing OBJ catches on the reg, but you are seeing talent out there. I don't want to do this, Darren. Please save me.
Yeah, let's tag me in. But no, it's, you know what, the league is awesome. And just, you know, let's be happy for what things are and worry less about what things aren't, right? And the CFL is an incredibly exciting, incredibly fun brand of hockey, or football, I mean, and it's why we love it. And the NFL is great for its own reasons too. They can both be awesome. So that's as far as we need to go on it.
Bill in Regina writes in. He says, good morning, crew. It's going to be a hot one here today. Go Riders, go Argos. Bill, can you explain to me, because I want to know why you're an Argos fan, please? It's keeping me up at night. I saw this guy at the Rider game last week with an Argos banner, and unless you're from Toronto, which I don't think you are, you got to explain this to me. Can you write it in, because that's a rarity. Bomber Boy writes in from Calgary, and he says, I feel like the Riders-Lions game will be a dud. Lions will be up 20 before halftime. The Bombers-Stamps game will be the game of the week. Says Bomber Boy. Which, by the way, I have not yet looked at the point spreads and probably won't. I'm not as interested in that this year. I'm still going to watch the games and stuff, but I don't care as much as I did. But what I hear is 7.5. I've heard that is the spread for the Lions-Riders game. Do you expect a blowout? Eddie Steele said that here yesterday, that it's going to be a blowout. Do you think it will be Saturday night?
Well, it's definitely an opportunity is setting up for it. You know, I thought Shea Pedersen did a decent job protecting the football in his start, made plays with his legs when he needed to, not a lot, and had some plays, obviously, on defense, 5 turnovers. Well, you know, as I talked about, Vernon Adams has thrown 1 interception all season in 5 games. They're not going to turn the ball over 5 times. Your defense needs to play well, but BC's not going to turn the ball over, or shouldn't be expected to. Shea Patterson's going to have to complete more than 15 passes, which is going to be a tough task against, a good BC team. They're 7.5-point favorites, BC is. So it's going to be really, really tough for Saskatchewan, but it is still a battle, really, for first place.
I'm so glad that I figured it out. Took only a couple of years after officially moving to Florida. But this is Canada's daytime sports talk show, and we talk about Canadian topics. And here's an example. Brian in Hudson's Bay writes in. He says, I used to watch Stampede Wrestling as a kid, but have no interest in it anymore. Sometimes skipping through the channels. If the ladies are on, I will watch a little, LOL. Soccer, I didn't even know the score until I seen it on social media last night. No interest whatsoever. I watched because of the hype, and the soccer let me down, okay? That's the summation of the opening couple minutes of this show. But Bob and I, as we watched the game last night, talked about women's sports and how it's becoming more of a thing. And I'm going to get to Caitlin Clark is up for Rookie of the Year, and Angel Reese in the WNBA. And by the way, they're calling the WNBA the W. And I'm like, oh, thank God that they're not calling it the dub. We can't have that. There's only one dub, and it's not going to be the WNBA. But I said, hey, as a sports marketer from way back and working in the sports media, Darren, we didn't care why you watched. We don't care. Just come. We don't care why you bought tickets. I watched women's curling because of the spandex, okay? I'll admit it. We all did. And two. And this is before I knew. Come on. Is that okay? I watched. And I found it, well, the ratings are just as high, if not higher, than the men's curling. You know that as well as I do. Why do you think that is? Because I think the curling people will tell you the curling's actually better for the men. I ain't watching the men for the spandex and Lululemon. I'm just saying it. I don't think you can cancel me for that, can you?
I don't know. I'm not a guy who's going to cancel anybody. I don't know. I'm still stuck on. That's pretty good. That should be an opening clip or a GIF. But anyways, where were we? Women's tennis or curling. I don't even know. So messed up. Women's curling. The ratings are better than the men. The games, you talk about it. The men, yes, they can throw the rocks harder. They're a little more precise on these things, and it gets a little boring because it's take out. I think, with the women, the game's a little bit more entertaining, more rocks in play, a little more of that high-end strategy. It's fun, but that was one that stuck out to me. The women do have better ratings when it comes to curling than the men do.
Well, and by the way, just so you know that I'm not some creep. I enjoy curling at Season of Champions time. I talked about this yesterday, but I'm not going to go to the local Bonspiel. I'm not going to watch the Grand Slams all year. I watch it championship season time. So that's why I tuned in, because the women were attractive. But Sports Center, this is the difference. I watch it because I want the sports. A lot of my friends were watching because of the anchors. And to be honest, I think the majority do. But my thing was, I'm tuning in for the highlights and the sports info. I don't need the window dressing for that. I don't care if it's a man or a woman. I don't care the color. I don't. But that's why I watch women's curling. All that I'm saying. John Ohm says, Rod's rant on spandex. LMAO. Producer John writes in, he says, listeners often told me they listened to me on air because I also wore spandex. You know John Glover, right, Darren? I need to take a break. John Glover and spandex. We all need to take a break. I'll see you in hour 2, Moose.
Okay, we'll see you then.
I watch Sports Center for Dave Naylor. And he joins us next. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Now the race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch. Celebrate 40 years of Sawyer Brown. Some girls don't like boys like me. With Shenandoah. You got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road. Plus special guest George Fox. Saturday, October 26th, Moose Jaw Event Center. I'll take the dirt road. Tickets are on sale now at the Moose Jaw Event Center box office or online at sasktix.ca. 6 days on the road and I'm Sawyer Brown and Shenandoah live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Does this look familiar?
Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Join the action at Golden Ticket Sports Center in Moose Jaw, your hub for sports, fitness, and community fun. Check us out at GoldenTicketSportsCenter.com. That's where we're broadcasting live from daily all summer. And we're talking a big CFL day today. Let's please welcome in TSN's David Naylor. And Dave, as we are on the cusp of week 6 of what's been a pretty exciting season, what have been your stories, if you don't mind, that's grabbed your attention the first 5 weeks?
Well, it's been hard to get away from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, given not only how good they've been over the last several seasons, but usually how quickly they are out of the gate. You know, that's often has a lot to do with roster continuity. So to see them at 1-4, I mean, look, them losing 4-5 at any point is a big story. But to come out of the gate at 1-4, hard to get away from that. I gotta go with Cody Fajardo. I mean, Cody Fajardo is playing at a level higher than the level he played at during his Western nominee season of 2019 in Saskatchewan. And, you know, I kind of pair that with Vernon Adams, who, you know, I think those are the two front runners for outstanding players. We get to sort of the quarter pole of the year. And it's just a reminder, right? How many times was Vernon Adams kicked to the curb by a team in the CFL? A few, right? And when I say kicked to the curb, I mean, yeah. Most recently in Montreal, he lost his starting job, and they traded him, you know, to BC for not a whole lot. Cody Fajardo. I mean, I always go back to it. A meaningful game at the end of the 2022 season. Saskatchewan still had a playoff shot. They sat Cody Fajardo down and started Mason Fine. And 2 years later, Mason Fine is not in the league, and Cody Fajardo is playing the best football of his life. And you know, those are the things that really kind of jump out at me, you know, just in terms of initial storylines.
Sure. And let's not forget, there's a lot of sins that this Ryder regime needs to repent for, but 4-0 under Corey Mace is a good start. That's a hell of a story, too.
It absolutely is. And the only reason I don't throw Saskatchewan into that, you know, top 3 kind of mix is they're 4-0, and it's like a team that the games have been 3 of their games have been so close. And, you know, and I think that's great when you have every team can look at it and say, man, we're 3-2, we could be 5-0, or we're 2-4 and we could be 4-2. That's really the way it is. And I don't want to take any measure of credit away from the way the Rough Riders have managed to flip the switch, in the fourth quarter of every one of their games. And the formula has kind of been pretty consistent, you know, stay close and let the defense create opportunities for you in the fourth quarter. And even with what they did with Shea Pedersen last week, I thought the reassuring thing for the Riders was the fact he got better as the game went along. I mean, he was a lot different player in the second half of that game than he certainly was in the first quarter. So yeah, not to ignore Riders 4-0 is a big storyline, because it absolutely is. I think that they're a team that looks like they're going to be competitive in every single game this year, which is certainly more than we could say for the end of last season. But I'm not sure they're going to win the West.
I want your opinion on this, and I know you don't shy away from the tough topics, but I also know how delicate the Chad Kelly situation is. And yesterday, Eddie Steele was on here saying the Argos are bringing him back because they win with him. Kirk, and I'm not specifically asking you about that, but Kirk in Toronto's written in, and he says, Rod, I have to disagree with Eddie Steele that winning sells tickets in Toronto. Not here. Argos were 16-2 and not close to a sellout all season until the Eastern Final. Do you want to dip into that, what it would take? Because winning isn't everything for the Argos in Toronto.
No, but winning helps, right? As somebody who's sat in that building when they're not winning, it's not better. Put it that way. Here's what I would say with the Argos crowd and momentum. And God knows, we could do a whole show on the Argos in Toronto and the CFL, and I have a million thoughts on this kind of thing. But the weird thing with the Argos last year is they kind of screwed themselves in terms of getting better crowds in the second half of the season once they'd established themselves as such a good team, because they clinched like a week after Labor Day.
Too early.
And they had the back half of their schedule was loaded with home games. So, the first 10 weeks, they're on the road like 6-7 weeks, and they come home at, 10-1, 11-1, and clinch. And then they got all these games in September and October that were essentially glorified exhibition games. And if you look at, this is what I remember the whole controversy when Chad didn't play in Winnipeg and all that. Look, if I was the Argos, I'd be saying, holy smokes, we have to play Chad at all the home games because we're already not giving our fans anything really that matters. So if we're going to sit Chad as well at home, we're not giving anybody a reason to come to the game. So I'll tell you, at the end of last year, you were certainly seeing Chad Kelly jerseys pop up all around that stadium, which you don't, again, the most popular jersey at an Argo game usually is Pinball Clements, who last played in, a while ago. So, I think there was some momentum behind that Argo team and Chad Kelly. And I think you saw it with the 27,000. I mean, that was a legit 27,000. I took the GO train to that game. I got off in the GO train at the exhibition, and it was like I was back in the 80s. I mean, crowds of people. You couldn't walk, people in old Argo jerseys, people, having a few drinks outside of the stadium. The only difference with the 80s, there was a lot more marijuana in the air outside of the stadium, I got to say, than there was in the 80s. But my point is that it was a vibe that was unlike anything, I think, since the Argos have been at BMO. Maybe the opening night game at BMO, how many, 2015 or whatever. And that's why that crushing nature of that defeat was not just a loss for the Argos and an opportunity missed to be in the Grey Cup, an opportunity missed for us at TSN to splash Chad Kelly on SportsCenter for 7 straight nights, leading into that game. It was also a lot of people in that stadium that don't normally go to Argo games. And, what they saw was the worst football performance that team put out by a long shot. But I think, your caller is right. Your listener is right. Winning alone is not going to flip the switch in Toronto. No, there's a whole bunch of this market, unfortunately, that doesn't pay any attention to the Argonauts, doesn't know when they play, and doesn't even consider going to games, unfortunately.
Well, I'll tell you an interesting story. We were riding the bus with the Riders to the 2017 East Final. And all our guys were up against the glass like, what's all this? It was tailgating from actual Argo fans. And that game, ironically, Mike Babcock brought Mitch Marner to the game. Marner cheering for the Argos, Babs for the Riders. That was a great day. Went down to the last minute, as you know. So, Dave, they're there. The fans are there. And secondly, they're watching on TV too, aren't they? The ratings, they got to be good.
No, absolutely. And this is kind of the weird paradox of the kind of what I will say the next tier of sport teams in Toronto. Toronto FC does really well in attendance and not very well on television. The Argos do really well on television and not very well in attendance. My colleague and friend Steve Simmons wrote a brilliant column a couple years ago where he basically said, the Argos have what TFC would love to have. And TFC has what the Argos would love to have. And given that they're under the same ownership, you figure they might be able to figure this one out. But it is an odd one. But the thing is, in this market, something as simple as the awareness of when the Argos are playing. Like I often say, if I ask my friends, when do the Argos play? When's their next game? The penetration level of that in this market with so much else going on is hard. And as somebody smarter than me once said, if my fans know when the game is, or if people know when the game is, I can't guarantee they're coming to the game. But if they don't know when it is, I guarantee they're not coming. And that's, I think, a reality of what we deal with in the Toronto market.
Steve Simmons is such a cynical SOB. You got to get him on TV again, man. I love it. And we've connected over the fact we both own homes in Boca Raton, so we're going to hook up down there. David, we're out of time. This is always
place. I was down at Simmons' place. Right, I was doing the Sunday night game, Bills and Dolphins, the last regular season game of the year. I went down a day early.
And you know the hood. Yeah. It's a great place in the world. David, thanks. We'll be watching this weekend. Appreciate the time.
Hey, thanks so much, Rod. Always enjoy joining you. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be right back with a sports update and viewer takeover. Matt Dubuc joining us next hour, our football analyst from South Florida. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
All right, we are back for the final segment of Hour 1. It's quick, but it's going to be great. We got some good comments have come in. Wayne in Victoria, BC, regarding the fact that Argos fans or Toronto people don't know when the Argos games are. Wayne says, it seems to me that if you're a CFL fan, you'd have a schedule and know when the next game for your team is on. But that's just me, right? When do the Leafs play? I don't know. Let me look it up. It ain't that hard. I feel you, Wayne. Regarding this NFL versus CFL thing that I know we'll never get away from, but I don't like talking about it. Pete in Saskatoon writes, and he says, no CFL quarterback is a Patrick Mahomes, but Vernon Adams Jr. is doing something special this year. He's on the way to an MVP season. As a matter of fact, I saw today in the game notes. I love the game notes so much. 4 quarterbacks are on pace for 5,000 yards this season. Cody Fajardo, Vernon Adams, and name the other 2, Macbeth and Bo. I combined 0-8. McLeod, Bethel Thompson. It doesn't roll off the tongue. McLeod, Bethel Thompson, and Bo Levi Mitchell are both on pace for 5,000-yard seasons, and their teams haven't won a damn game. Regarding watching curling for spandex, women's curling, Vintage Sasko writes in on the text line 902-518-3033. He says, great show. Question, would you prefer men's curling if Ben Hebert was wearing spandex and a tie-dye tank top? Sasky and sex appeal, according to the ladies. Where's Troy in Toronto? I got to dig through this. Oh, here it is. Troy in Toronto says, I heard a TV person admit that curling does well because there are attractive people playing it, and the executives play on the looks of the curlers. Sex sells. It's universal. Are we breaking ground today? Are we splitting atoms? That men like to watch women's sports because of how the athletes look? The women watch the men for the same damn thing. Come on. Sports update. Wandering out of this mud pit that I've found myself in and put myself in. The Toronto Blue Jays continue a 3-game series against the Giants in San Fran tonight. The Jays dropped last night's opener 4-3 to fall 9.5 games out of the American League behind the final wildcard spot. Chris Bassett on the mound tonight for the Jays. Canada's national men's basketball team faces Team USA in an Olympic tune-up in Las Vegas tonight. It's the first meeting between the two sides since Canada's 127-118 overtime win in the bronze medal game of last year's FIBA Basketball World Cup. Basketball, I'll be honest with you, I can get down with. Soccer, I keep giving it a try, and I keep getting let down every time. I kind of want to say that I'm done. Former Raptor Jonte Porter's in court today to face U.S. federal criminal charges tied to the betting scandal that got him banned from the NBA earlier this year. Prosecutors haven't specified the charges except to say it's a felony case. Sports update is for Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas, July 19th, Twisters. This summer, the epic studio disaster movie returns with an adrenaline-pumping, seat-gripping, big-screen thrill ride that puts you in direct contact with one of nature's most wondrous and destructive forces. From the producers of the Jurassic and Indiana Jones series comes Twisters, a current-day chapter of the 1996 blockbuster Twister. In Landmark Cinemas, July 19th, and I'm telling you, I can't wait. And also brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company out of Calgary. They have the perfect craft beer for your enjoyment, featuring their Core 5, Good Company Hazy Pale Ale, Common Crown Crafted Lager, Journeyman IPA, Brewmaster Blonde Ale, and Coppersmith Brown Ale. 4 of them sit below 5% ABV, making them the ideal beer for your everyday common affair. Back with Hour 2 right after this here on Game Plus and Key Radio.
capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
What do you think it's going to take to return the Edmonton Elks to even some semblance of respectability, let alone prominence?
I'm all across the province, and I have these conversations every day, Rod. You know, there's management, the name change, there's so much, right? But at the end of the day, just like I said about Chad Kelly, you win football games. You know, you win, and people will be there.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
It is hour 2 of your favorite daytime sports talk show coming at you here on the Game Plus Television Network, live from the Golden Ticket Sports Center. And Moose is in Toronto, and as usual, this is where things get fun. This is where things take an uptick, because we do bring in the audience. And hey, Moose, good to see you. Any thoughts burning in you before I tackle hour 2 topics and more fun stories?
Lots, I'm sure, but I know they'll come up in hour 2, so I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, if you're good. So for those uninitiated, if you missed the start of the program, we do the quick 6 show topics off the start. It's what's of importance to me because it's the Rod Pedersen Show. It's not Sports Center. But number 1, we talked about Argentina blanking Canada 2-0 in a Copa America semifinal last night. And I'm telling you that I keep giving soccer a chance, and it keeps letting me down. So I think I'm done with soccer. So point 2, Major League Baseball. The Blue Jays, because they suck, we don't watch every game, but we're keeping an eye on what they're doing. And they had a wild one last night. The bullpen blew one in San Fran. Jays lost 4-3. They'll go back at it again tonight against the Giants. I love those interleague series. I think everybody does. And we'll get to the CFL in a second, but the WCBL, so the players have started trickling in, Moose. They got a big game tonight in Regina. This is going to go in my weekend column. I'm not sure what city gets made fun of more for their name, Moose Jaw or Regina. Living in Regina for a quarter century, the jokes, they're common, right? They're not even funny anymore. And now I spend the first summer of my life in Moose Jaw. There's a lot of jokes. Clint Black was in concert here a couple of weeks ago. He's making jokes about Moose Jaw. It's like, do you think we haven't heard this? Yeah. Where was I? Honestly, where was I? Squirrel moment,
question.
Darren.
I know.
Yeah, we don't know where you were. That's the joy of the show. So the Millers are showing up, and well, here come the All-Stars, and I can't name them. I found out yesterday who they were, but I can't say till Thursday. Morning, All-Star. That's my guy right there. I can't say his name because it's a big secret. It's a big secret, you know.
Oh, so Bobby Biceps is an All-Star. Who?
I'm not saying I didn't say his name. I didn't. But here's
and just so everybody knows, you never told me who the All-Stars were. You didn't tell me one name.
No, I know I didn't. I didn't tell anybody because, again, this is what we talked about last hour. This is where I got in trouble with the leagues and the teams in the past, was because I cavort with the players away from the stadium, and they tell me stuff. Like, I know who all the All-Stars are for this team, and we're going to be in the All-Star game at Okotoks next week, and I was told don't say anything because we're announcing it on Thursday. I'm like, okay, but I get close to the players. I can't. I don't want to. I've gone out of my way not to be close to the players. But there's that one, Robert Estrada. He's the left fielder, Darren, and he's got a vibe. He's got a beat in him. Like, he's out in left field during the game, and he's dancing to and he's got this very funny dance, and we connect. He's the guy that I speak Spanish to before every game. He comes into the ballpark, and one day it's, hey, Robert, ¿cómo estás? Mi esposa y dinero. These are all the phrases I knew when I was going to Mexico on vacation. Mi esposa y dinero. My wife has the money. Uno más, por favor. You know what that is, right? Uno más, por favor.
Yeah, one more, please.
Yeah, got me in a lot of trouble. I can't help it. We find each other, you know? It's a spirit thing. It's a soul thing. So as much as I try to put up a barrier, it don't work. But they're in Regina tonight, and I'm not going to the game. I don't do road games. I got a couple things I got to do this afternoon. I'm going on the radio in Edmonton to talk CFL, which we're getting to here right away with Low Tide. And then I'm going on an interview tonight in, where the hell is he? Indiana, I think, and we're going to talk Florida Panthers because I can do a lot of things. Reg in Winnipeg writes in and he says, is Billy Joe Charlebois still living in Moose Jaw? The town made famous by the movie Slapshot. Billy Charles Boy, who hails from, if I can read the card here, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. That's where I am. When I had that little snafu with the bank in Florida, you know all about this, but I came up to Canada for the summer and was told I could buy a house from Canada, a house in Florida. So we're working that all out, and the lady on the phone, she's in Delray Beach, Florida, and she's like, where are you? And I said, she's on the phone, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. And she goes, is that just like it sounds? Yeah. Yes, it is. One more. Jen from the Fourth Season says, I'm going to check out my Red Sox tonight, taking on Moose Jaw. Go Sox. I'm sorry to say, but we're going to have our way, I think, with the Red Sox tonight, Moose. A war has broken out in the comments with regards to CFL versus NFL, and I don't have the time for that argument. What do you think it's going to be like this fall, Darren, with that? Because is it unwinnable? Is it unwinnable, or can we make a difference in that age-old argument, do you think?
No, there's definitely an argument because, again, it's entertainment factor. You know, if you put,
yes.
Some people will argue that the Georgia Bulldogs could play, you know, the Carolina Panthers and give them a good run. That's not, honestly, I don't think true. We know that the NFL is far superior to even college football in terms of the athletes and all the rest. But NCAA football, massively entertaining, super popular, great players. The CFL is no different. Great players, super entertaining, exciting. You know, yes, we know that they're not at the same talent level as the National Football League, but you don't need to be to have an entertaining product, and to be a great league. There's been no problem with the league for 100 years, because of that same reason. It's entertaining.
Well, all of those things. And okay, I'm glad that you brought all that up. I'm glad you went down that road because our viewers are on that road here. And it's not just about what's going on the field. It's about marketing. It's about hype. It's all, what made the World Juniors from just a hockey tournament to the World Juniors. You know what I mean? Attracting 20,000 a game. It was marketing. It was the same tournament. And it was elite hockey for sure. But it was junior hockey, which people don't care about all year, but they do for 2 weeks at Christmas because they were told to. So on all of this, NFL versus CFL, Bomber Boy writes in and he says the NFL has the elite talent sprinkles throughout the league, but their game lacks so much potential for quality entertainment. And Jeremy says lacks quality entertainment, LMAO. They're fighting back and forth. And Bomber Boy says, imagine thinking a fair catch is quality entertainment. So listen, you ask Tressman, you ask Matt Dubuc when he comes on here later. He coaches U.S. football in Florida, yet he played in the CFL and he's from Verdun, Quebec. I'll guarantee you he'll tell you the CFL game is more exciting. It is, but it's been marketed terribly. And to say that the talent level is a big disparity, it's actually not. And that's not a fight that I want to get into today. And I'm not a learned football guy like you are, but I remember, my good friend Eddie Johnson. Of all the things he could be famous for, he played for 9 NFL teams. He was a model for men. Listen, we're close friends. And he used to say, he's like, we would stand there, because he's a punter, so he wasn't real busy during practice, right? And I'm at every practice, and he goes, Rod, the people think that there's a huge difference between NFL and CFL football and talent, but there really isn't. He's like, look at that beast of a D-end right there, 6'5", 295, D-end, just destroying the O-line. He goes, he could play in the NFL, but there's 10 of those guys at that position deep in a training camp, right? And then during the season, he goes, in Canada, there's one on every team. And when that guy goes down, you're done as a team. Do you know what? The talent's very close. There's just not as many is what I'm saying. That's making sense to you, isn't it?
Ton of sense. A lot of talented players. And sometimes it's just opportunity and fit and where you are in your path. And sometimes it lines up to go to the NFL and other times it doesn't. It's a deep league in the United States for sure.
The Velvet Frog writes in from Winnipeg. And I don't want to have this small man syndrome on behalf of the CFL because it's not my job to defend them or market them. It's not. I just love the league. And as I said, I'm not going to sit here like all the other shows talking soccer for hours because I just don't care about it. I tried. I can't. But I do love the CFL, and people know that. The Velvet Frog writes in, he says, I'll believe Chad Johnson when he said these guys in the CFL should be in the NFL. There's talent in the CFL that could start in the NFL. I'll never forget this. The guy that was my predecessor, Jeff Courier, and I don't want to have anybody think there's no Santa Claus here or not. I'll just tell you something that he said. Cover your ears if you're like a huge CFL fan and get defensive easily. He goes, the NFL rosters are like a Mercedes dealership. Every vehicle pristine, rolled right off the assembly line. He goes, the CFL is a used car lot. This car's got 500,000 miles on it. This one's got a dent in the door. This one's got, the fenders falling off. That's what he said. And I just never, ever forgot that. And I don't think anybody could argue that. Because it's not even, there was a time in the 90s when he said that the best Canadians were playing in the CFL, and that's not even the case anymore. The best Canadians are playing in the NFL. Nobody can argue that, Darren.
No, you're right. They're playing in the NFL. Now that's the league, and more Canadians are getting those opportunities. The CFL continues to send players to the NFL too. It's that used car lot where you still have some new vehicles in there. You still have some really nice vehicles, but you got a bigger mix of everything. You got, and they all serve a purpose. But you're right. It is, it's a different league for sure. We all know it.
Morning, Wyatt. Good man.
All-star?
Catcher. Number 13. Not sure that he knows. You're not supposed to ask.
Right.
The poll question today, did I mention this? What's Canada's game of the week? Toronto at Montreal, Calgary at Winnipeg, Sask at BC, Ottawa at Edmonton. We've had, I don't know if these are bad poll questions or really good poll questions. They've been landslide victories this week. Toronto is a landslide winner as the hottest coaching market, most pressure in the NHL, Toronto. And Sask at BC on Saturday is a landslide winner for the game of the week. Ted in Red Deer writes, and he says, the car dealership thing is about right. You can still get a good deal, but it ain't a Mercedes. Listen, Jeff Courier, man, he trained me so well. And in a lot of ways, these guys kind of ruined me, my mentors in the business, because at least I was saying something this the other day. YDL Mike, we went for supper to Deja Vu. You ever been there, Moose? Deja Vu?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I said, I'm ruined. I can't listen to anybody that doesn't know what they're doing in this business because I was trained by Willie Cole and Jeff Courier. And while in a lot of ways they were ruthless in their training of me, they were the best at what they did. Do you know what I mean? And now I know because I've been trained. So don't try and bowl me because you can't. And that intimidates some people. Kevin the Medium writes in, you know Kevin the Medium. Ooh.
Yeah.
He says, good morning, RP peeps. Been a while. I hope all is well. As for your poll, how can anyone not agree that the BC versus Riders is the game of the week? Come on. Yes, Rod, I'm still irrational. Kevin was doing sales for us for a while and then moved on up in the world. And now he's selling RVs by the dozen there. But we went out and we watched the Calgary BC semifinal 2 years ago. The one where Jake Mayer started. And then Bo had to come in off the bench in the fourth to try and win it for them and almost did. And I was trying to have a rational football discussion with Kevin, and I couldn't. As he's sitting there with his face painted and pom-poms and an orange jersey, I'm like, your brain's fallen on the floor, but since the game started, you're not rational. You're an irrational fan. There is a difference. And we're not a fan show. Scott in Toronto's trying to get my goat. He says, can we talk CFL expansion, Rod? You're joking, right? You're joking, right? Because you're going to make me very upset. And that's why this will never be a CFL show, because the CFL, I'm going to tell you something right now. CFL doesn't want to expand. They say they do, but they don't. I fully believe that. Because if they did, they would have by now. And I know one former CFL owner / governor who I was very close to. He got out of the league because of that. I'm just going to say it. It's what I do here every day. Scott, you're not serious, right? Because no, we don't talk about it. There's a lot of other more important things to talk about, like what's the highest pressure head coaching job in the NHL, because that actually means something. If they wanted to expand, they would have. And this particular owner / governor said to me, they don't, because these owners don't want to split the TV money by another 10th. So if you want to sit and talk about with your buddies, go ahead. But we're not talking about it here because it will never happen. And it's a waste of our time. Matt Dubuc is on the way. We're going to continue all the fun because we are. I'm just going to go. Woo-sa. Flush it all, Moose, in the break, and we'll be right back with more fun and frivolity right after this on Game Plus TV, Key Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastih.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hey, everybody, the RP Show is brought to you in part by the Saskatchewan Rattlers professional basketball team. They play at a SaskTel Center, offering the best entertainment for all of Saskatchewan. Follow along as they continue the playoff push. They are home Thursday night to the Winnipeg Sea Bears. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster or head on down to the Rattlers front office in downtown Saskatoon. Continuing the fun, I think Moose will rejoin us later. We're going to South Florida now, or maybe in the Bahamas. I'm not sure. He'll have to tell us. My good guy, Matt Dubuc, joins us. Three-time 5A state football champion out of Florida. Looks like you're back home, Coach. Am I right?
Yep, back home. Back to work.
Yes. Well, I hope you enjoyed the holiday. And, Matt, we're going to get into Week 6 in the CFL in a second. You said you've been following the show here today, watching it. What do you... The CFL versus NFL, I wish we wouldn't have to compare it because you don't. I mean, what's the most entertaining of the two leagues?
I mean, coaching and playing in these states and then playing in Canada, obviously. I think the Canadian field being longer, the waggle, the deeper end zones, I like that better. I like the Rouge. I think that's a lot of fun. Our football seems to be more contained to safety and that's the new thing now, concussions and everything like that, which smaller condensed field, more impacts, larger field, fewer impacts. But I like the passing league versus the ground and pound league. That's just my personality. But I definitely think that the product that they have right now, the games that I've watched have been awesome throughout the first 5 games.
Yes.
So I don't see that changing.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I jumped right into this. I should tell our viewers in case they didn't know, for those that are home in the summer and haven't seen Matt on here before, he's at Cardinal Gibbons High School. three-time 5A state champions, played in the CFL with the Bombers and Argos, and he's from Verdun, Quebec. And anything else you'd like them to know, Matt, before I throw you the stats at you in week 6?
No, I have 2 sons that are playing football, one in college, one's going to be a senior. Hopefully they'll be up there one day playing as well.
By the way, yes, Trey is at USF. Has Trent decided where he's going yet, or does he have to decide yet? When's he going to decide?
He'll decide probably midway through the season. He's got some stuff going on, so we'll kind of see where we're at.
Okay, good. I love those kids, by the way, as you know, and I love when they write me with their questions and kooky comments. Anyways, I was reading game notes for week 6. I don't know if you saw this earlier. I'm going to throw some at you that stuck out at me. 75% of the games in the CFL so far this year have been decided in the last 3 minutes. This is the fewest sacks allowed ever. In 100 years of CFL football, it's the fewest sacks through 5 weeks. The margin of victory average is 8 points, so they're being decided by a touchdown either way, which is great. And there's only been 2 kick return touchdowns all year. So they're on pace for 6 all year in the league. Last year they had 17. What do you think when you hear all those notes?
Well, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And like I said, we're in the first real quarter of the season. So I think you'll see a lot of that changing as guys come in and out of the roster, off the roster. Where special teams, you're going to try to put a guy on special teams because you want him to play on defense or offense, and he's not a special teams guy per se. So I think you'll start seeing some of that happening. And let's talk about the kickers. They've been phenomenal. So you're not getting a lot of returns on missed kicks right now. The kickers have been great across the league. So I mean that's I think another bite into that stat. And then again, I keep saying it over and over again. I think the quality of coaching in the league is really good. And, when the field does shrink when you have really good coaching.
The coaching's phenomenal. I think it's one of the most underrated things about the CFL that the fans don't know about. But by the way, you and I watch the games. It's almost like we're watching them together, texting back and forth. I think the officiating has been pretty good. Like, there's been a lot of kick returns that could have gone for touchdowns called back on flags. But they're not made-up penalties, right? They're just calling what's there.
I asked Jeremy J.O. the other day about his returner. What's his name? Alfred? Is it Alfred?
Mario Alfred, yes.
And he says, yeah, this was in the summer. He goes, yeah, he doesn't really play much offense, but he's really worth a roster spot as an American as a returner. And I just watch the games and see him change the field. So, to me, that's one of those positions. Once again, in our league, it's catching the football. In the CFL, it's getting into good football areas so that you can change the dynamic and flip the field. And I think that's what the good teams in the CFL right now have those guys that are flipping the field, but not necessarily hitting home runs.
Yeah, well, I think it's just important. Trustman said this, and I can't remember where he said it, but he said, whoever designed this CFL game, it's beautiful. But he also worked in the NFL for a very long time. Let's just admit they're both great. and not compare, because we're going to watch it all anyways. So let me jump to this. Week 6. Here's the 1 day a week schedule. Sorry, 1 game per day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Toronto at Montreal, it opens Thursday. Friday, Calgary at Winnipeg. Saturday, Sask at BC. Sunday, Ottawa at Edmonton. What's the game of the week for you?
I think Saskatchewan undefeated against Vernon Adams and BC is obviously probably the best game. Winnipeg's still on the ropes. I think Calgary's pretty good. It's a 4.5 point game. Montreal is, they're playing at such a high level on defense. Toronto's struggling with the quarterback. Could that thing get out of control? I don't know. It could. And then I expect Chris Jones to get off the schneid this week and get a win. And so I think it's a big game for everybody that I just said, but across the country and probably for your viewers. I mean, BC and Saskatchewan, obviously, the two of the teams with the best records.
Are stats overrated? I mean, I forwarded you the game notes. Have you had time to read them yet? Like, there's 4 quarterbacks on pace for 5,000 yards. VA, Fajardo, which is clear, and then McLeod, Bethel Thompson, and Bo Levi Mitchell. They're a combined 0-8. So does stats really matter?
They do matter, but, you know, it's such a QB-driven league. But, you know, you could see in Hamilton right now, they're discombobulated. I don't care what his stats are. They couldn't even get lined up for field or for punts the other day. And it's Milanovic there, right? He's a good coach. I mean, so they'll figure all that out. But, you know, we always say as coaches, there's 3 phases of the game, and quarterback on offense is an important one. But with 5 guys doing that, somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose.
Yeah. Here's a question from Ted in Red Deer. He says, hey, Coach Dubuc. Sorry, I forgot to say the French. My bad, Matt. Hey, Coach Dubuc, when you're watching a game and you don't know the coach, what do you look at to determine if they're doing a good job?
You know, you start looking at, you know, getting plays off on time. You start looking at the penalties. You start looking at, you know, how guys pursue to the football. If guys are playing to the whistle, you know, everything that a coach looks for on his team.
Right. So I'm reading the comments from the viewers and here, Matt. And by the way, on the radio, they say your name Dubuc. So should I talk to those guys? One of them is your neighbor.
Fine.
Okay. I'm just saying, at WQAM, they say Dubuc. That's how everybody says it in South Florida. BW at Edmonton says, Matt, when are you going to coach in the CFL?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe one day. I've had a few conversations with a few people. You know, I still want to get my younger one through here in South Florida, but it's definitely intriguing. And I'll tell you this, I watch those games and I think about those plays. I'm an offensive guy, so I'm thinking about what I run and how could I incorporate what I put in with the extra player. And it's, you know, I'm fired up about the league. And I wish, Rod, we would have another team, because that would open up more doors for more players and better contracts by the TV. So, yes, let's get another team.
I didn't say I didn't want another team. I said the owners don't want another team, which, by the way, you had a guy from the Chiefs playing in Ottawa. Am I right? Is he still there?
Last year, no, he got released.
Okay. Ken is watching in Pennsylvania, and he says Nathan Rourke is closer to the Mercedes parking lot, but may never get a true opportunity. Is that a talent issue?
Hey, listen, I was going to bring this up, and pretty astute viewer. Are we talking about VA if Nathan Rourke doesn't go south of the border? Because he bounced around. He looked like he was bouncing out of the league, and he found the right coach. He found the right team. And the next thing you know, here we are. He's one of the best players in the league. And I was not a VA fan. I am today. I respect his game. What's going to happen with Nathan Rourke? He'll probably be back in the league in 2 years when he's tired of getting those big checks he's getting, or they stop giving them to him. But he's a talented guy. So, you know, it's people chase the money. People chase the fame. Vernon Adams, give him credit for pushing through and not getting pushed out of the league. And there's a ton of those guys, you know, a ton of those guys don't get a chance to play in Canada because of the ratio or because Father Time wears on them and they can't. You know, the Canadian League's tough, man. It's a lot of running. You know, it's not smash mouth just like it is in the south of the border. So, you know, your legs play a big part of that.
By the way, I need to call you this afternoon about CFL jobs. Let's put it that way. It's jogged in my mind. Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes and he says, I'd like to see Coach Dubuc interview with the Stampeders to see if he's Stampeders material. Well, maybe we'd like to see if the Stampeders are Dubuc material. But anyways, there's the one thing, Matt. You've been around this game longer than me. Ricky Ray, Dave Dickinson, those guys all went down to the league in the early 2000s, as you remember. But the money wasn't then what it is now. They didn't want to be a third stringer. But now I think you would for $500,000 US or more. Like, it's a game changer, right?
I had a kid last year who was on the practice roster. He's making $11,000 a week. I mean, not even on the active roster. So, that's a tough thing to do. And, don't forget this. You start getting paid in Canadian dollars, you got to change that over. And then you look at your check and you look at the taxes. You go, oh, Jesus, if you're in Toronto, you get the state tax or the provincial tax, you get the, I remember those taxes. So there are benefits to playing in Canada.
Yeah.
But there's also some deals there that, you go south of the border and you're not getting a lot of that check that you thought you were going to get.
Both your mom and dad Canadian?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Derek Moncrief, close friend of mine, when he was with the LA Rams, $7,000 a week US. Not bad. Cash as a linebacker on the practice roster with the Rams. He just got signed at Edmonton on Sunday. One of 5 vets, along with Sean Oakman. You know him from Baylor's story.
Yep.
What do you think about Jones pulling out all the stops here right now at 0-4 in terms of signing these older guys?
I think Jones did a good job in the offseason by getting McLeod. I think he's a really game changer. I think the running back's good. He gets Boris Beatty. He misses a kick early in the season, which could have won them the game. So, whenever you can upgrade your talent like Jones is doing right now, he's fighting for his life right now. I mean, let's face it. He can't go back with another loss next week and think that he's going to stay the coach. I mean, it's pro sports. This is what happens. And, even at our level, expectations are you got to win. And if you don't win, or you're not trying to win, you better get out of this deal because you wake up every day, there's somebody trying to recruit your players, or you're trying to get some players. I mean, it's just a revolving door.
Very stressful, I'm sure. Well, I guess let me leave it on this. I heard Randy Ambrosi was on here just before the start of the season, and the commissioner of the Canadian Football League, and he said OSU, Ohio State University's payroll is $25 million US this year. NIL. Like, how do we feel about that?
Me, I personally don't like it. If it's an amateur sport, then it's an amateur sport. Now, if you're paying for some kid's college tuition and you can do some things for him down the road, I always said there should be a revenue sharing deal where everybody gets the same amount of money. This was being done at Alabama, Auburn, and Arkansas, and those places under the table for years. Now, why does Nick Saban get out of it? It's real simple, because they even the playing field. But to have 4 or 5 teams with that kind of budget, I mean, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think it's ruining the game. Kids transfer. What are you teaching them? What's the loyalty factor? Goes into your family life, your whatever. And my son plays college football, and he gets a little bit of money, but he doesn't get that kind of money. But he gets a little bit of money. But we used to get $10 after a game when you turn your jersey in at Texas Tech. That's what we got. And we could go out to dinner after the game with $10. These kids are getting, I look at it and I go, my God, I'm in the wrong era.
The Red Raiders. Well, hey, the long snapper from the University of South Florida bought me lunch at Wings and Things because he's got all that NIL money. Can you believe he'd do that? I felt bad. So, anyways.
Unfortunately, he's a lot like his father. He likes to spread the wealth, but he'll probably come to me looking to reimburse them. Probably the way he works.
Your kids bought me more lunches than you have. Okay, Matt. Thanks for this. Enjoy the games. I'm teasing, of course, everybody. I'm teasing. Matt, enjoy the games. Keep in touch. I'm going to call you this afternoon.
Hey, real quick, Rod. I want to wish my wife a happy birthday today. Another year under the belt, and I let her stay home with her present, which is Tyson.
Tyson the dog. All right. For sure. Hey, consider it passed along. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you. We'll be right back with a sports update. We'll see if Moose is in or not. I'm not sure. I think we can handle it all together the rest of the way. We are live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lequette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, we are back. It's a Tuna Turner production with producer Clark gone to Arizona for a week. Is Moose coming in with us, or is it just me, Tuna? What's the word? What? We haven't seen Moose, so I can handle it. I'm about the old hot potato of live television and radio, right, Rhino Radio? I can do it. I got a few years at this perilous trade. A sports update here on this Wednesday. The Edmonton Stingers playoff spot will have to wait in the Canadian Elite Basketball League. Calgary crashed its Alberta rivals party Tuesday night at the Edmonton Expo Center, racing to an 87-58 victory and holding the Stingers to a franchise low point total in the process. Meanwhile, Khalil Ahmad and Aaron Rye combined for 45 points to help the Niagara River Lions defeat the Scarborough Shooting Stars 98-77 Tuesday night. That also in the Canadian Elite Basketball League. Tonight, there's a game, Ottawa at Brampton. You can catch it on CEBL+. I don't know if it's on TSN or not, but our good friend Daniela Ponticelli will be on the sidelines of that broadcast tonight. Ottawa at Brampton tonight. I had occasion, and I'm telling you, the summer is flying by way too fast. It was 2 weeks ago now. I was up at SaskTel Center watching the Rattlers home to the Niagara River Lions, and the founder of the league, Richard Petco. It's the first time I met him. He'd been on this show before. He's from Toronto, I think. He lives in St. Catharines now. And he owns some of the teams in the league, but they've been selling off the teams to local ownership, which was his goal. Isn't it nice when things go according to plan? But I said, hey, Richard. Lee Genier, the president of the Rattlers, introduced me to him. And I said, hey, Richard, your family's the founders of the Petco pet brand company, right? And he's like, I wish. I knew they weren't. We were just having fun. And, man, did we have a good chat. We got to the bottom of things fast. He's about my age and been a very successful guy. Niagara River Lions owner. And they won last night in Scarborough, or over Scarborough, 98-77. Is any of you guys, any of you go to that arena? I think it's called the CAA Center. Pretty cool. This. Okay, we save what everybody else is talking about for the sports updates. The race for the WNBA Rookie of the Year honor continues to be a tight one between the Indiana Fever's Caitlin Clark and the Chicago Sky's Angel Reese. The duo have enjoyed record-setting rookie season, so it's no surprise they're the front runners for the award. At the halfway point, the panel also unanimously voted Las Vegas forward Asia Wilson Player of the Year and Cheryl Reeves of the Minnesota Lynx Coach of the Year. Now, think about this. This would make no sense if you've known me a long enough time that I would know this gal whose name is spelled A''J''A. A''J''A is pronounced Asia. And I knew that. How would I know that? Only because I'm following this league and they're getting so much coverage that I'm kind of into it. And this is sort of what I wanted to talk about with Moose if he had come back today, but I don't think he is now. And he might not want to answer it because he's not, not everybody's as big of an open book as I am. But are you watching women's sports because of the sport or because of the athletes? And you know what I mean. Because I admitted last hour that I watched women's curling because of the Lululemon. I don't mind saying it. And I think a lot of people knew that. But I didn't watch SportsCenter for the hot female anchors. I watched that for the sports content, the highlights and the stories. Everybody's different. Because most of my friends would say that they were tuning into SportsCenter for Natasha Staniszewski. I didn't care. Give me the sports. I probably wasn't going to be watching curling otherwise. So where are we on all the other? Because we got women's hockey, we got women's basketball, obviously tennis. Moose is a big Wimbledon guy, which reminds me, I'm just throwing this in here. There's no single explanation for all of the injuries to players in the latter stages at Wimbledon this year. This much is certain. The timing couldn't be worse. The man Novak Djokovic was supposed to face today, Alex de Minaur, withdrew hours before their scheduled quarterfinal because he jarred his hip at the end of his victory 2 days earlier. Taylor Fritz's fourth-round opponent, Alexander Zverev, slipped on an unworn patch of green grass in his previous match and said it left him on one leg. And Danielle Collins' last Wimbledon appearance before retirement ended with tape wrapped around her hamstring. The list goes on and on and on. That's why I think I'm just probably going to stick to hockey, football, and now baseball. Because these guys are tough, too. They're tough. Takes a lot to get them out of the lineup. Sports update is for Landmark Cinemas. Mondays are Seniors Day at Landmark Cinemas. Get more of the movies you love every Monday for less. Seniors enjoy 20% off the posted seniors admission price, and to sweeten the deal, you get 20% off at the concession, too. So make Mondays your movie day because a great deal never gets old. Check your favorite landmark cinemas for showtimes and pricing. And I'll say it again, Twisters. It's like not a remake of Twister, but not a sequel either. I don't really know what they're calling it, but what I know is I'm going to go. Maybe we should organize a seniors night. I don't quite qualify yet, but the Millers have every Monday night off, and maybe that would be a good time to have a big movie party with the RP show and go watch Twisters in the summer. I can think of a few things better. We'll be back with overtime right after this, and I'll get to all your comments. We got some good stuff here. Do you watch the sports for the athletes or the sport? Because I'll flip this around. The females of my life always talked about the football players in the tight pants and the football players with the bulging biceps, the receive. So it's not just the men, okay? We'll be right back on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, Back to the studio with Rod.
The studio is the aptly named Golden Ticket Sports Center here in Moose Jaw, and we can ride this on out with viewer comments because we got a lot. We already did the sports update. I wanted to tell you why I'm dragging this out. We're also brought to you by our friends at EMJ Marketing. They're the agency which reps me. Connect with thought leaders and industry experts through EMJ Marketing Speakers Bureau, and also me. Check out their roster at emjmarketing.com. It includes Jim Barker, Paul Lapalese, Stu Grimson, Rachel Holman. Yeah, it's awesome, man. I'm so proud to be a part of it. EMJ Marketing. Give them a follow on social media, too. Emptying out the notebook of comments here. Number one, Wayne in Victoria, BC says, I enjoyed that interview. Matt Dubuc, what a great guy. And he says, when I hear guys are making $11,000 a week to be on the taxi squad in the NFL, I definitely understand not playing in the CFL. Yes, that is the point. It's not necessarily just about that, but everybody listen to what you're learning. That's what we're trying to do here every day, is bring on the sports people to have talks like this so that you know. Like, it's not even a decision for Nathan Rourke whether he's going to stay in the NFL versus the CFL. And just so you know, it hasn't been a decision. Like, don't sit there waiting because he ain't coming back. One thing about football that I know, I've been around it long enough, it's not easy. The guy's diet is not fun. All the time in the weight room. It's not fun. Football isn't really fun. So if you've already made your millions, why would you do that? You remember back in the day, 70s, 80s, 90s, guys would play in the NFL if they were Canadian and then, or even American, play in the NFL and then come to the CFL because the money wasn't that much different. Now it's not even close. They're going to the NFL and in some cases signing one contract and they don't need to play again. Big difference. It's changed. That's all we're saying. Ryan O'Radio at WQEE writes in and he says, correct, Rod. What was I correct about this time, Ryan? Refresh my memory. I'm going back a ways in the comments here, so I'm not totally sure. John in Vancouver writes in. He says, thank you, Rod, for taking some time with the Canada versus Argentina game last night. Always appreciate ye. Well, don't get used to it. The soccer talk. And with me going on Edmonton radio this afternoon, I see that station, Sports 1440 Edmonton's, getting flamed by some for saying that Canada's out of the Copa America. And people are writing in going, no, they're not out. They're in the third place game on the weekend. No. Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last. Shake and bake. If you aren't playing for gold, you might as well go home. I'm sorry. When that kid tossed a silver medal in the crowd at the World Juniors a couple of years ago, I got it. Jeff the Stamps fan says, are Canadians all eliminated at Wimbledon? I think there's one left, and it's a female. Oh, boy. I asked, do you watch sports? Let's say this. The opposite gender of you, do you watch for the sports or do you watch for the athletes? And you know what I mean. The Jug is watching, and he says, I'm here for women's beach volleyball. Yes, please. Olympics can't come soon enough. Got to get you into pickleball, Jug, and paddleball. I'll get you down to Miami, where they play in Little Haiti. I've been at the hell's it? The Ultra Lounge there. Whew. It's not even about the damn game. Jeff the Stamps fan says, if we're being graphic, then blunt. Most men watch female tennis for the sounds. Ew. Jen at the Four Seasons says, no, it's all about the baseball players' butts. LOL. I always heard that about Johnny Damon. Like, I'm not good at it. I don't know. That's what they said about Johnny Damon back in the day. What else? Well, Wayne in Victoria, BC says John Ryan must have really loved the Riders to come back to play in the CFL. Good for him. Listen, well, again, every year when John was playing in the NFL with Green Bay and Seattle, he would come back and host that charity event in Regina, and I always emceed it. And this was back when I was still drinking. I wasn't always a kamikaze. We would have we would do the football clinic and then a social, where there was stand-up comedy some years, a band, you name it. Then we would sit around having beers. And John always said he was in the NFL, but he goes, one day I want to come back and finish my career with the Riders. And I'm like, John, that'll never happen. It happened. So, yeah, dare to dream. That's why he did it. Beep, 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 beep. Hang on. What do you got there, Tuna? 90 seconds? All right. Bill, I just wanted to say this. Bill, he is in Regina, but he's an Argos fan and a diehard Leafs fan. I never quite got that. I asked him, what's his deal? So indulge me when I read this. Bill Edwards from the Queen City writes, and he says, Rod, I was born and raised in Whitby, Oshawa area. I have been an Argo fan since the early 70s. When I moved to Regina in 81, started to attend a few Rider games here. I decided to support the Riders against every team but the Argos. Where you saw me, we have 2 season tickets, and it's a green fan zone for all but one game when it's double blue. Okay, thank you. Originally from Whitby, Oshawa. I get it. Darren in Melfort says, Rod, did you get too much sun, or were you blushing talking about women's curling? I didn't want to sound creepy. I was trying to say it as much as just admitting that that's why I was watching it. That's all. Kirk in Toronto says, hey, Rod, I'll second. CFL East needs a 5th team and a balanced schedule. I guess you're just making it known because I have no power over that. Tell the CFL because I don't believe they want it. Pete in Saskatoon says, game of the week, Ottawa versus Edmonton in the Somebody's Gotta Win Bowl. How about brought to you by Drano? That's the toilet bowl. We'll do it all tomorrow. Thanks to Dubuc and Naylor, noon Eastern, right here.
Who has more fun than us?